We have two sets of meeting minutes to approve this evening. On October the 11th, we met with Jason Simler regarding our the possibility of bonding food and beverage funds, and then our regular October 28th meeting. Are there any questions or changes that need to be made on these meeting minutes before approval?
I have one thing on the regular meeting minutes, if you want to go ahead and vote on the food and beverage fund ones.
Sure. Is there a motion to approve food and beverage?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain since I wasn't present.
Very good. And motion carries. And what is the change or comment on October 28th?
Okay. So because I didn't write the changes in an email because it's substantial, it's lengthy, not too lengthy, and so what I'll do is I'll read this, I will read the minutes and then read my proposed change, and I will do it in a motion so that we can just forward through with the process, and then if the council so chooses, then we can vote to accept or not. So my motion is that I'll read the original paragraph and then the change, and then the paragraph and the change, and there's three. The original minutes says, Susan Hoon explained that some council members were upset because there was a work session made up of the Finance Committee that met to review the 2022 salary ordinance, and other councilmen were upset about it. My proposed change is, Susan Hoon explained that some council members were upset because there were two special meetings of the Finance Committee that met to review the 2022 salary ordinance without notifying other council members. Second paragraph. The original minutes say, Clay Morgan explained that all councilmen should have known about the meeting, and he had to find out about it from department heads. He feels when salaries are discussed, these should be workshops and not just the Finance Committee. The proposed change is, Clay Morgan stated that all council members should be notified about meetings that concern the financial matters of the county council. He expressed disappointment that he was informed about the nature of these meetings from another department head who was in attendance. He stated that further discussion of the 2022 salary ordinance should be taken in a future public work session. Paragraph 3, the original minutes state, Susan Hoon explained that no salaries were cut. The ones that needed adjustment went up in pay, and the next time salaries are discussed, it will be done at a workshop that any councilman can attend that wants to. My proposed changes, Susan Hoon explained that no salaries were to be cut, and salaries that needed to be adjusted would go up in pay. She also stated that the next discussion concerning the 2022 salary ordinance would be done in a public work session, comma, so all council members could attend. So I propose that change in the form of a motion.
Okay. I'll leave the floor open for a second, and then I have discussion. So that motion died for lack of second. I would, if we make those changes, I think, Debbie, that there were a few salaries that went down up to about $25. So we should probably say materially changed. Did we make there were a handful that where they were supposed to get 1,000 and they were only going to get 970 or something. Is that right?
I think that is correct, Madam Chair, because the intent was to make everybody the same job category,
right?
The same amount.
There were some people who had been being paid $20 or something more than others in their class previously, and so they would.
I don't think it was more than one or two.
It was.
I recall
it was
one, but
just a couple.
I have a question for Clay. Clay, I listened to everything you just said, and obviously you feel very motivated to reframe the minutes. To me, they sounded a lot the same, and
They are very similar, but some of it was stated in a little bit better English, and some of it was stated in a little more clearer perspective from my point of view. However, I will not continue discussion on this matter since it died for a lack of a second. However, what I will say is that as a council member, I would like to submit my proposed changes for the next meeting minutes in acknowledgement that my proposal that is documented in the minutes died from a lack of a second, and we shall move on. And I will send those in an email to our auditor, and it'll be a simple copy and paste for next meeting minutes.
I think that sounds like a good solution, Clay. Debbie, does that work for you as well? Okay. Thank you very much, Clay. Yes, sir? Oh, okay. Do we have a motion to approve the October 28 meeting minutes? Well, as current with the change of not changing salaries materially. Because I think if... Well, 25 or maybe 27. Like I know it was less than 30.
I don't have that. It definitely was less than 30. It was 20-something. It
Just-
seemed to me like it was very close to $25. And I don't think it was more than 2 employees.
So I'll refrain from making a motion as chair, but is there a motion to move forward and accept those with that one change?
I would make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting on October 28th with that one change.
Yes, sir. Okay. We have a motion and a second to accept the October 28 meeting minutes with the one stated change. Is there other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
And motion carries. Okay, at this point, we're going to move towards a public hearing that Victoria Beckert is going to lead for us. But before doing so, Joel, I think we need to pass these two. We need to vote on the resolution authorizing application submission first and the letter to authorize the local match first before we open the public hearing. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Okay, then we welcome Victoria to conduct the public hearing.
Hello, my name is Victoria Becker. I work with Administrative Resources Association in Columbus, Indiana. So we worked on the first owner-occupied rehab program that the county had. There was an overwhelming response to that. Just to give you an update, you received $333,333. There were 20 homes that were assisted as a part of that grant, and we're actually working on closing out everything right now. Since it was a pilot program with Okra, the funding agency, they did a follow-up call with us and encouraged the county to apply for a second round of funding. So we actually have 41 people on the waiting list from the first program. We're hoping to help 15 to 17 additional persons through this program. A part of the application process is that we hold a public hearing. So I do have a sign-in sheet going around if everyone wouldn't mind signing in so we can take that back and show that there was attendance. I'll read the required language, and then if there are any questions or comments, we can take those at that time. So on or about November 30th, 2021, Henry County intends to apply to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs for a grant from the State Community Development Block Grant Program. This program is funded by Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. These funds are to be used for a community development project which includes housing owner-occupied rehab program with the following activities: rehabilitation of scattered owner-occupied homes within Henry County. The total amount of CDBG funds to be requested is $250,000. The amount of CDBG funds proposed to be used for activities that will benefit low to moderate income persons is approximately $240,000. The applicant also proposes to expend an estimated $27,778 in non-CDBG funds on the project. The non-CDBG funds will be derived from Henry County's Food and Beverage Fund. This public hearing is to provide interested parties an opportunity to express their views on the proposed federally funded project. Any questions, comments?
Simply going to say, I calculated our match is just 11%, which is very competitive and money well spent. I think that leverages a tremendous amount of rehab to low to moderate income citizens. I think from what you've said at previous meetings, if not in person, on Zoom, that it was well received from those involved, and they were most appreciative and able to do rehab work, whether it be heating, roofing, ADA compliance like ramps, windows, et cetera, that they very likely would have not been able to afford if this program were not available. And my understanding, this is for all of Henry County residents, correct? Okay.
Yes, it is.
So we appreciate ARA's oversight and administration for us. I think it did a lot of good for our citizens. It's appreciated.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, we can close the public hearing. We also are required to have a resolution passed by council. The resolution allows the council president to submit the application. We will do that on your behalf for $250,000 for owner-occupied rehab. It also commits the required local funds in the amount of $27,778.
So the floor is now open for a motion.
I would move that we accept the resolution. And
Second.
Does your motion include accepting the resolution as well as the letter to authorize the local match as two separate documents?
yes, it would include both documents.
And my second can also include that.
Okay. And we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thanks for being so easy to work with. We appreciate that. All right. Corey, we're ready for an EDC update.
Good evening. I have a variety of items to update you on, some of which I've given you some handouts, but not included in the handout is a ready update. All regions were given the opportunity or invited to make a presentation to the committee that the Indiana Economic Development Corporation assembled. I will affectionately call them the jury, so to speak. And so that is going to be not next week, but the week after. And our region's presentation, I believe, is on the Friday in the morning. I don't know a location, but somewhere in Indianapolis. We'll have a half hour and then 20 minutes worth of Q&A. So if you think of the, just the number of counties in our plan and the number of counties in other plans, it's an important half hour in terms of to be succinct. And so, the goal is to leave the committee with a distinct feeling that, we're worthy of their investment. As of yesterday, I will be one of the presenters, not by choice, but by selection. of the regional group. I missed a meeting. I think maybe that contributed to being selected. But the other presenters are Valerie Schaefer, my colleague in Wayne County, and then 2 representatives from Ball State University. So we're excited about that, and that as much as I know about the process. I don't know when they're going to decide. The week after, or 2 weeks after, so now I'm into the middle of December, right, December 16th, our state association has a conference, and on the Friday, so the conference is on a Thursday and Friday, and on a Friday on the agenda, there's a Ready update. Well, just a week and a half earlier, they will have received all the presentations, so it'll be interesting to see what they share in regards to the program. Tremendous opportunity, though, in terms of, the amount of funding being available for projects. I gave you a copy of the Chamber magazine. I don't know if you get this directly, so kudos to the Chamber and to the advertisers. We use this magazine to sell the community, both internally and externally. They ask that I contribute a column. So that's on page 8. I got to come up with new material because the auditor's office has heard this a couple times and some other people have heard it. But it's about leadership and the column, because I believe that's something that we can control in terms of how we govern. And it's not just elected officials, but it's elected officials, it's the private sector, and it's the nonprofit. How we respond to things, the processes that we create. I think good leadership leads to community prosperity. And so I would commend that to you, maybe when you can't sleep tonight. But another use for the magazine, and also these little rack cards, and I've run out, but I've given you a couple as an example. So I'm kind of switching into tourism now. In the rebrand, we don't have a visitor's guide yet. So it was brand, logo, tagline, check, 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 website, underway. Next would be a visitor's guide. So this isn't the visitor's guide, but this is a rack card that we prepared, our team prepared, to go over to the Indiana Media Marketplace. Today's Thursday, right? Tomorrow's Friday, thankfully. Yeah, okay, so yesterday I was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Chris May from the Hall of Fame, and we had a booth set up. And a lot of similar tourism or destination marketing organizations were there. But our customers were travel writers from all over the region. And so they would come up, and they're looking for content, right? They're looking for ideas. And so we produce these for that, and then I've dropped some off out of the Steve Alford Inn. I'm going to have to print some more. We only printed 300. So I just wanted you to have a flavor of that, what we're doing from a tourism standpoint. The magazine was there. But it was great conversations from the travel writers. The goal here is to get earned media, right? So not paid advertisement, but somebody writes a blog, somebody writes an article. They're called micro-influencers. That gets shared. And then, people learn about Henry County and all there is to do here. And so some came up, huge basketball fans, right? Because we're leading with the brand. Basketball lives here. Other people came up and said, I'm not a basketball fan. And I'm standing there with Chris May from the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, right? We said, that's okay. That's all right. What do you like? Because I bet we have something that you're interested in. And if you go down the list, and I'm going to miss some, right? So there's the moment I start making a list, I'm going to leave something out. But Summit Lake State Park, Westwood, Belgian Horse Winery, Newcastle Motorsports Park, home of Wilbur Wright. That creates a conversation. And you can go to the museum, the home of Robert, Indiana. You can see the love sculpture everywhere, but he was born here, and so the Arts Center. And so there's a lot there. Basketball's our hook. And so it was fun. It was my first event in regards, it's different. Marketing for economic development is not the same as marketing for tourism. So this is a learning opportunity for me personally and professionally. It was fun. It'd been a long time since I worked a trade show. Needed to go home and take a nap. I also gave you a handout. It's called The Rainforest. So I'm off tourism now. And I'm a focus next year for us. And when we ask for a modest increase in the investment from county government to the Economic Development Corporation, you all rightly asked, through your president, what are you going to use it for? Well, we want to use it to be more intentional on entrepreneurship. We're doing some really good things in entrepreneurship, but I want to do a better job. And it's not just us, it's other partners like the Main Street Organization, Think Business Builders. So this is just questions that we can ask as a community in terms of creating an ecosystem or an environment that supports entrepreneurs. And I think that will help us as we work to encourage community prosperity. We're fairly successful on the business attraction. We do a pretty good job on business retention and expansion, working with the companies that are already here. I think it would be smart to be more intentional and strategic on entrepreneurship. So I just leave that to get you thinking. Questions? Maybe something I didn't cover?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment and an attaboy, I guess. First of all, great job over these years of being here. And it's fun to see the successes and the strategies and some of the, maybe what were some of your dreams in the beginning starting to become a reality. That's pretty awesome. The other thing is I want to say excellent article in the magazine. I did read it and didn't fall asleep. I enjoyed it. And I thought about this before even tonight, but I said, I usually talk enough anyway. But since you brought it and we're in this moment, I want to read one paragraph of what you wrote here. Unfortunately, it's not your quote specifically, but it's from the book that you gave us that I thoroughly enjoyed. Economic Development Leadership is Not for Amateurs. And it says, the common denominator of a community's success is always the quality of your public and private leadership. Excellent leadership drives economic development to your community. Poor leadership drives economic development out. It's as simple as that. And I read that, and that says it all. It's as simple as that. And so I appreciate this article, and very good all the way through. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I know you also gave an update at the EDC meeting this morning, and I appreciated your comments and others' comments, but the Tom's organization in Knightstown, I was very impressed.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
With this gentleman from Connecticut, that they have like 8 sites or something like that in Connecticut, and they moved their only out-of-state to Knightstown, Indiana, and he gave the reasons, but I believe they do surgical implant devices, which is a highly specialized manufacturing, and I think he said that they were going to have 50 employees by the end of this year, and maybe 150 when they get in a few years, if I'm not mistaken. But some of the people that you have come in and share, I think, are inspiring. So just kudos to add to Clay's kudos.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Thank you very much. Next on our itinerary is an ARP ordinance that the commissioners passed last night. And this is the framework for structuring how we'll spend the ARP funds for the county. And for those that haven't had a chance to read through it yet, specifically, right now, the ordinance touches on allocating a sum of $1 million for the repair and upgrading of the sanitary sewer lateral that will serve the new Henry County Jail and Rehabilitation Center. And this is a clear use and infrastructure use. Also, allocating the sum of $1 million for professional fees for using this money. And then it's also made clear that this plan can be amended and changed, added on to at any time. And if there's any questions on the ordinance as it's currently written, you can ask a Joel, or we can open up the floor for a motion to approve.
I would simply like to say that the state of Indiana is paying $9 million, and they've asked us to pay 10% because the line that's currently there serving GEO should have lasted 40 years. It lasted 20, and it's deteriorating. So no further comment about the materials or workmanship, but it should have lasted longer. To add the jail to the GEO population, it's going to a larger diameter. I don't know if it's 16 to 18 or 14. 12 to 16 inch diameter line that will come down to the Newcastle wastewater treatment. And the state's asked us to pay 10%, and that's what the $1 million is for. And they estimated a maximum of $10 million. That could modify slightly, but it should not go over $1 million, they say. And the other is hopefully a maximum of what AIC and Baker Tilly has recommended, 10% administrative oversight and to the U.S. Treasury and everything on this ARP money. It's, everything through the federal government has red tape and expenses attached to it, unfortunately. And hopefully that comes in far less than $1 million. I would hope far less, because we've already approved $25,000 or $50,000 to Baker Tilly to be our administrative, give us guidance and counsel for the ARP. So
I want to add one more thing for those on the council. This document here and changes made to it is what will be coming out of that ARP subcommittee that the commissioners created. So we discussed this last Wednesday at the ARP subcommittee, and also discussed other things that, you know, Kennan specifically has mentioned in the past, other water sewer projects, broadband, scanning documents, the list goes on and on. But as those ideas come out of the subcommittee, they'll come to you all in this form for a vote. So if you disagree, I would say if you have suggestions that you want the subcommittee to hear, you should tell one of us or submit them in writing to the subcommittee. And then if you disagree with what comes out of the subcommittee, you will have, you know, a chance to vote against it here as it comes through in this form. Does that sound right? Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll simply add that our next meeting is next Wednesday at 8 a.m. in here.
Okay.
So if you have questions or concerns or comments, you might filter to somebody prior to that so it can be addressed at that meeting. And it's a public meeting, so you're also welcome to attend.
Is this the first use of ARP funds we've allocated?
This is our first ordinance.
Okay. And the commissioners voted 3-0 on this last night?
I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, okay. When I think about the ARP money, I get excited about the impact it could make, and I see the need for this. I'm going to vote for it, but just to vocalize where I hope ARP funds are going, you know, we've talked a lot about developing housing along the interstate corridors, you know, really trying to plan for the future. Just to relate to the committee, I personally am very excited about that, and I've also talked to constituents who would like to see things like that. I also see this as obviously the fact that the state is willing to pay 90% of it is a great gift, because it could be all on us. So it's a good use of funds. I just hope we can also still make good public impact with the remaining ARP funds.
Thank you for that, Betsy. Is there a motion for action at this time?
Make a motion to approve the ordinance or resolution.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our itinerary is the approval of the sheriff's contract. And I spoke with Joel just to ask him to summarize the changes for us. And the sheriff's salary is tied to our prosecutor's salary. So this contract is exactly the same as what we passed last year, with an increase of about $3,000 because the prosecutor's salary went up, and it is tied to that. So if there's any other questions, you could ask the sheriff or Joel, or a motion for action.
And that's tied as per state statute, correct? So that's not an option we have. I mean, it's tied to state statutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Did you want to comment at all before? Nothing? Okay. Is there other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we have a series of transfers. The first is from the Henry Circuit Court, requesting to transfer $2,360 from equipment repair to transcripts and $400 from postage to longevity.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next set of transfers is a request from our surveyor to transfer $1,235 from motor vehicle supplies to office supplies, to transfer $880 from travel and training to office supplies, to transfer $130 from legal ads to office supplies, to transfer $91.50 from computer software to office supplies, to transfer $7,575 from GIS database surveyor to office supplies.
Make a motion to approve.
So this would be a large transfer for office supplies. Did you
Sorry.
want to address the council with the need for office supplies? That's about $9,000 for office supplies.
Yeah, I think Taylor's here to address that,
Okay.
and she's our GIS coordinator. Madam Chair, before we take a vote, I often go over and have conversations as a member of the Planning Commission, which Taylor and Steve's office is on that second floor across from the Health Department. And they've shown me this scanner they currently have, which is 20 years old. It's an old HP. It probably costs 3 times what they're proposing. That's what's happened in technology. You have better technology at a fraction of the cost over the last 20 years. They've done their research. The county would greatly benefit. I'm shocked that the county government has one industrial grade or professional grade scanner. And Jeff Lutz has babied it, used anything from Scotch tape to duct tape to prayers and an old board out of an old computer to make that thing last a couple years. So I would highly recommend that this be funded. They originally approached us about ARP funds, but the fact they have those monies in their own budget, that frees up ARP monies for things like Betsy brought up that would serve the entire county outside of county government. So I would be totally behind this and would make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second and a motion and a second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much for the information, too. I appreciate that. All right, our next transfer is a request from the Planning Commission to transfer $850 from association and training fees to office supplies.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our next transfer request is from the Highway Department from the Motor Vehicle Highway Fund, requesting a transfer of $7,000 from summer help to administrator. There is a resolution number attached to this request. Resolution number 2021-11-18-08 was required because of the accounts, the line items the funds were transferred from.
I would make a motion that we approve that resolution.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our next set of transfers are from the Extension Office, requesting $79.82 from part-time clerical to travel and $137.31 from office supplies to travel.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The transfers are completed at this time. The last item is an additional appropriation. This, I don't think I have that right there, but this is an additional appropriation from county general funds of $31,230. And this additional appropriation will cover the cost of back paying to employees whose pay was not correct over a period of time.
Just, I understand we can't get into discussion, but of who and specifics, but was it because of the polls and ComOts and all of that, or?
I'm going to ask Debbie to answer, and I'll ask Joel to stop her if she says anything she couldn't, or why don't you go ahead and answer in an appropriate way if there is one.
And yeah, I kind of came in at the very tail end of this, so I may not have 100% of the facts off the top of my head correct.
For the additional.
There was some misclassification for a couple of employees. This is the category they should have been paid at, I believe. Is that correct?
It was classified as a pass, and the salary was decreased.
So they weren't paid what other people in their class were being paid.
Correct. And the correct person that had been in that position.
Could I add,
The previous person that had been in that position, they didn't get paid what she got.
Okay, so someone was paid a certain amount, and then that job was taken by someone else, and the pay went down, but the job responsibilities stayed the same.
Madam Chair, could I add a couple comments, and Joel can stop me if I don't think I will overstep. These are two different positions, I think, just one. And it occurred before most of us ever were on this. And I think that falls into what we're trying to correct currently with these meetings we've been having, so that once this discrepancy was brought to our attention, we want to fix it so that we learn from past errors without pointing fingers, so we don't repeat similar type of issues, that we learn as we go along and not make a mistake twice. Does that sound reasonable, Susan?
Yes, and that was what I said at our last month's meeting when I was talking about why we had those rediscussion about wages. You know, we submitted the raises that we intended to give, and then when it was brought to our attention that not everyone in each class was receiving exactly the same pay, we realized that we needed to make sure that that didn't happen. And that's the whole justification for moving forward, is to make sure it's exactly right come January. So, is there other discussion or a motion to approve this additional appropriation?
I don't think we really have a choice, do we, legally?
I think you do need to approve appropriation.
Yes, that's my understanding. I just wanted to make sure from legal counsel, I would move that we approve this additional appropriation that is legally binding.
We have a motion and a second. Or is there other discussion or questions?
It's an unfortunate error. I mean, that's a big chunk of money that we could use in a lot of different ways. But I know that the council and specific people have worked very, very hard to make sure that we don't do this again, so.
Right, these specific errors were already fixed. This is, right. Thank you, Debbie. I don't think I have a motion yet. Do I have a motion? I lost
I
track.
made a motion.
You made a motion.
I
Was
made a
there
motion, I
second?
believe. If
And a
not,
second.
I-
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, and motion carries. Thank you all. Okay, we'll move into a series of updates. Joe, do you want to come forward and do the highway department yourself? That would be great. So this is signage for which part of the county? the western 4 townships. Right. Okay.
And this is not like road signs that say 200 north, or is it?
Regulatory and warning signs, no road name signs, they will not be road. Curb signs, stop heads, all those, they will take care of.
So this is a request for $69,265.18 in matching funds from LOHUT and MVH funds for the Western 4 Townships regulatory and warning signs. Would there be a motion for action? We have a motion and a second. Is there other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Joe, while you're still up there, I ask you, but I know we had 1.5 days of warmth this week. Where are we at on the community crossings? How's Milestone faring? And that's the one south of Spiceland. Right. And they will keep the asphalt plants until Milestone's done, you said? Oh, well, that's a safe bet.
You guys have done really good work on Raider. Raider Road, where it tees into 950 North, that stretch north of Middletown is one of the worst sections of road, I think, in the county. And just to see it, I drive it a lot. Anyway, I'm personally grateful, and it's been really good to see. I know that we really got hit in the highway department last year with funding, with COVID, and it had to come from somewhere. But just driving around the county a lot lately, it seems like you guys have done a lot of really good work.
I'd like to reiterate what Betsy said and apply that to Dublin Pike. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
How do you want to do that, Debbie?
Well, yeah, I mean, we probably have to set up a special fund by ordinance or resolution to do that.
It wouldn't be done for things like the wind farm was done. Remember how we had that bank? That was escrow.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a special,
Okay.
one-time off deal.
So, yeah, we'll just have to set up an ordinance with the fund number for it.
And we will do that next month, or is that good? Okay. Okay. We meet again in December, the third Thursday in December, and can we have this all completed then? Does that seem good? Okay.
Do we have enough staff to man the number of trucks and snow plows we have, or are we short in that? As far as your employees with CDLs, if we were to have a bad winter or a blizzard, pray tell, you still short-staffed for the trucks you have available? Right, but do you have extra trucks above and beyond?
We have extra trucks.
So you were authorized, I believe, for 2 additional employees in January? And that gets you closer to actually manning the number of trucks that you have available with plows?
Thank you very much for all that you do. Okay, Kenan has a health department update and insurance update for us.
Actually just passed out a summary. I won't read everything on the health department. This came from Angela. She's actually meeting with the county health board simultaneously with this meeting. She did send out an email that I happened to be tagged on as her liaison that next Monday, the 22nd, is Public Health Thank You Day. Given what the health sector has gone through over the last 18 months, it might not hurt to send a thank you note to the people who have been in the trenches. She also gave an update at another group that I serve on, the Alliance for Youth, that had a Zoom meeting at noon today. She noted that about 50% of eligible Henry County citizens have been vaccinated. They continue to offer all 3 types of vaccine to now ages 12 and older, first and second doses. Third doses for those who are immunocompromised, and booster doses for those 65 and older. The health department is also now offering a Pfizer pediatric vaccine for ages 5 through 11, since that was approved federally. Newcastle Peds are doing the same for their clients. It's flu season. I've gotten my flu vaccine. It's available for all ages through April of 2022. And I know that different pharmacies offer that as well, like CVS and Walgreens, as well as the health department and Henry County Health. A reminder for the holidays, please don't let your guard down. Stay home if you're sick. Get tested and be honest with family members so they can make proper decisions based on their health and beliefs. Henry County has had 162 deaths since March of 2020 attributed to COVID. Henry County has surpassed 10% positivity again this week. We're the 5th highest of the 15 East Central Indiana counties. And Henry County is back to orange. We were yellow for a little bit, and that's also the 5th highest of the 15 East Central Indiana counties. Any questions before I go to insurance? Insurance, we had another bad month. Bad month is interpreted as we've had very high claims over the past 3 months. October it wasn't, but if you look at August, September, and October, we're about 70,000 over expected. As I mentioned at the last 2 meetings, we just hope and pray that we don't have too many bad months strung along, or we're going to go over again. So it's not red alert yet, but it's one of those things we cannot predict. Insurance is there for those who are sick and or hospitalized, and it's there to use for those individuals who have health insurance that we provide. But we have strung along a few bad months, and just something that we need to watch. So that's what the colored, the graph claims are roughly 70,000 over the expected for our policy because we're self-funded insurance. So
Kenan,
yeah,
I should know this, but this 107% actual is expected. Is that so far on our June to June?
no, that is well, yes, it's June through October, so we're not quite halfway through the contract year, which is June 1st through May 31st. So
it still doesn't.
no, it's too early.
Our bank
You know,
account,
it's
right?
too early to press the panic button because all it take was a couple of lean months and we would be back to
Right.
expected. So I just like to give you an update monthly.
Yeah.
And we just had a couple of large claim months.
How does that fund look, Debbie? Is it okay? Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Before we close, when will we meet next month because of the holidays, Christmas?
We are going to meet the third Thursday.
Well, before we close also, I came from a PC meeting, Planning Commission. They approved, and I'll bring it forward at the next December 16th, I think is the third Thursday. Transfer of funds. They've approved tonight a bonus for the data clerk that's basically done 2 jobs, zoning administrator, and we do have a zoning administrator starting Tuesday after 6 months without one. It's Tom Green, who was a former member, will be taking over as the zoning administrator to replace Darren Jacobs. But with Sean Rowe, our attorney, there had been a precedent that when the Memorial Park secretary did both jobs, there was a transfer of funds and a bonus, which was basically the difference between what the superintendent would have gotten and the secretary over the months covered that they did both jobs. In this case, it'd be roughly $5,100 because it was June 9th through tomorrow, which is November 19th. So given that precedent, and it is legal from what our counsel has said, next month be coming forth asking for that fund transfer out of the Planning Commission of roughly $5,100 for the data clerk. So heads up. Okay,
transferring it into her, they just actually paid it out of that account. We looked into that
okay.
today. Yeah, it's on Genesis Park.
Well,
When you do a transfer, you could pay her out of that line item.
Do we need to do another salary ordinance to cover that one-time payment too?
We didn't with the park.
now, I don't know, pardon me, is the park different because they have their own tax rate?
No, it would all be done the same.
Okay. So just advise us if it can be done without council approval and done internally through the planning commission. Our next meeting is also on the 16th, but we moved it up to 4:30 so that it would not conflict with the council.
And if you think we do need a salary ordinance, or you can let us know. Okay. Okay, and Bessie had an update on a conversation she had with the EIRPC representatives.
That's right. So this week, Corey Knipp from the EIRPC reached out to me over email, and he also contacted Aaron Dickin and wanted to talk to us about what he called digital inclusion, which I had to make him define because I didn't know what that meant. And specifically, that means the adoption of broadband technology and its use for social and economic benefit. Specifically, they're looking at access to affordable broadband in the county, access for citizens and students to digital devices, and digital skills training for citizens, and this is a workforce development kind of a thing. So our meeting this afternoon was really Corey trying to ascertain where the county is, what our needs are, anything we've done up to this point, and I relayed to him that I think, I can only speak for myself, but based on conversations we've had in previous meetings, that we would love to expand broadband in the county, but as a county government, we can't afford it. But that we would be enthusiastic for those funds to come from other sources, such as the state government and their allocations. I also know that the stimulus bill the federal government just passed, for better or for worse, does have quite a bit of money allocated for broadband across the country. So this is something we may need to really start thinking about, that these funds are going to be coming in. Corey mentioned that both Rush and Wayne counties have task forces to look at this. Anyway, I'm just relaying the conversation, and this is, especially since the pandemic hit us, expansion of rural broadband is such a vital thing for our farmers, for our students, for people like me who work remotely, who have terrible internet at home. It's really become a high priority. So I just wanted to pass that along. I also wanted to convey very quickly, I had a conversation with Stacy Guffey this week, our coroner, about how busy that office has been. And the bad thing is that he feels like they are just running ragged. And I remember, I've said this to my colleagues before, but a bad year would be 100 coroner runs. When he was coroner before, he said that a really bad year would be 100 runs. They are on track for 140 to 150 now. And so it's just, their office is really, I've asked him, do you see trends? Not really. And it's not COVID, it's other deaths that they have to investigate. So I just, knowing that may impact us financially, I wanted to pass that unfortunate news along.
And just to reiterate, last month I mentioned I looked at coroner budgets, especially in East Central Indiana, and if we're not the lowest of those 15 counties, we're at the very bottom of a coroner budget. Just a placeholder for next year budget hearings.
Very good. Is there any other business from the council? Is there anyone in attendance today that wanted to speak to the council? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.